Okay, so welcome back to the Reprogrammed podcast. This is the podcast for curious minds, impact driven leaders, and fellow practitioners, which explores the science and the stories behind subconscious transformation, nervous system healing, and trauma informed manifestation. Today, I'm here with Maggie Perkins, which I'm so excited about. Maggie Moon on Instagram, which, by the way, whenever I talk about you, I refer to you as Maggie Moon. So the first time that I ever saw your last name, I was like, oh, Perkins.
Oh, I
Is there
know. 90% of people that have met me online are quite confused when they find out my real last name, so that's okay.
Did you change your name? Is your name legally Maggie Perkins? Is it like a branding thing? Is it your middle name?
So I was nicknamed Maggie Moo growing up by my family,
Cute.
and I was always obsessed with like the moon and astrology when I was younger, and so I just kind of like came up with an Instagram handle at like 12 or 14 years old, and it just really stuck, and now it's my branding. So yeah.
It's the same Instagram handle that you had when you were 14.
Yes.
I love that so much. Maggie is a hypnotist, is a nervous system specialist, and the founder of hypnoenergetics. This is a unique method that she's created. She created hypnoenergetics. It's a unique method that blends subconscious reprogramming, parts work, kinesiology, and energy healing, and is intended to help women shift their identity and manifest lives that feel wildly aligned. She works with soul led entrepreneurs and women who are on the edge of their next expansion, helping them break free of old patterns like people pleasing, burnout, and fear of visibility. Maggie's work is all about collapsing timelines, regulating the nervous system, and anchoring into the version of you that already has what you desire.
Thank you so much for that introduction. I'm so excited and grateful to be here.
Me too. I think when did we connect? We connected on Instagram, as I think so many connections are made via. I can't get over the fact that you've had Instagram since you were 14, because I think that when I was 14 we had like MySpace.
Yes.
Like I don't even remember when did Instagram become a thing? And now I think so many of the connections that I make, at least with people in our industry, via Instagram.
100%. Yeah, I'm so grateful for just social media in general. I mostly just use Instagram, sometimes LinkedIn, sometimes YouTube, but I mean, yeah, thank goodness for these platforms that have really just allowed us to have such incredible, options in life to meet people around the world that we would have never probably met otherwise. So
Where are you right now?
currently, I'm in St. Louis, Missouri at my family's home. This is where I grew
Beautiful.
up. And yeah, every summer I come back, and also in the winter to see my family.
Every time we connect, you're somewhere else in the world. You're like the first, I think, when we initially mapped this podcast, and you're going to be joining us as a guest expert, which I'm really looking forward to chatting about today. We were trying to decide on times because we were in different time zones, and you were like, oh, if we do it this month, I'll be in Bali, but then if we do it this month, I'll be in Dubai, and then if we do it this month, I'll be in the States. And I'm like, wait, what is your life right now? Are you nomading? Are you just traveling all over?
Yes, yes to all of the above. I was actually just talking to my boyfriend before this call, and I was like, I'm really tired. Like I'm just really like exhausted, to be honest. Like, and I'm so grateful that we've built our businesses where we can be these nomads and take our work wherever we want to go. But yeah, this year has quite possibly been the most travel filled year that I've ever experienced. And yeah, it's really pushed me to lean even more on the tools that I have to make sure I have that internal stability while my external reality is not chaotic, but just constantly changing.
I've been nomading for a little bit less than a year. How do we create this sense of I am at home and everything is, even though the external environment is changing, because it's ever changing, even when we are living in a singular, stable place, but how do I cultivate a sense of stability and at home right, within while I'm
Mhm.
hopping all over the place. And how have you done this? Like, do you feel as though you've cracked the code? Because if so, give me your give me your
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say I've cracked the code, but I definitely do have things that I really routinely stick to no matter where I'm at, which is my morning routines that
Mm,
set me up for my day. It's like even when I'm on, like a holiday and I'm not even working that day, like I'm still going to take time, whether it's 5 to 20 minutes in the morning to do my hypnotic meditation, to either do a breath work if I'm feeling a bit, just like overwhelmed or anything, or even an energy clearing. And it's like, being able to take that intentional time to make sure that you're aligning yourself with who are desiring to step into. That is huge because I don't know about you, but for me, when I travel, I can get pulled in a lot of different ways. There's so much to do, so many people to meet.
mm,
And I'm such a chameleon that I can really just like get really sucked into the different places that I travel. And so it's so important for me to have that intentional time in the morning to connect into, okay, like this is who I'm stepping into, this is who I am right now, like these are my goals. And maybe that's journaling some days. But I'm not that much of a journaler, to be honest.
no.
I'm not like I'll do it occasionally, but it's like I tell my clients, journal if you need to, but it's like only if you want to. It's not something you have to torture yourself with. And then having somatic practices for when my nervous system feels overwhelmed or dysregulated, or doing spinal energetics on myself, or calling on my own therapist, having that mentor to help me move through whatever's coming up, because I really do believe that a lot of us thrive most when we're in a stable place, when we have a
Mm,
routine, when we're eating the same diets, we're having the same sleep routine. But yeah, as a nomad, it gets a bit, just a bit challenging at times. And so you just have to stay ahead of the game, um,
mhm,
with a lot of things. So yeah, I don't know. What
mhm.
about you? What do you feel like is kind of like your go-to whenever you're traveling?
It's always the hypnosis audios for me.
Mm-hmm.
Always having whether it's first thing in the morning or, in between sessions, just having something to listen to. And I think that I love journaling. I'm a big proponent of, and also I'm a big proponent of finding what works for you. And there is
Yeah.
so many people experience resistance around journaling. But I love scripting. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that just to reflect kind of your sentiment, this being able to stay connected to our sense of self and
Mm-hmm.
not just our current self concept, but at least I think what I'm hearing from you is to have a clear idea of what are your goals and who are you looking to embody today, and then connect with that first thing in the morning so that the rest of your day is aligned.
Mm-hmm.
And scripting to me really helps me with that, because sometimes, even when listening to an audio, I find that if I'm already in a state of dysregulation, or if I'm experiencing some sort of whatever it is, a feeling of instability or insecurity, taking pen to paper and like literally just like it's the first step to like manifesting it into reality for me, is like taking it from
Mm-hmm.
all over here and like pulling it down into. And I find that if I don't journal, if I don't listen to a recording, and if I don't move my body at some point in time during the day, I go to bed feeling like, who even am I?
Mm-hmm.
Who even am I?
Yeah.
And also I will say that the more work that I've done around, again, like finding and feeling mm, a sense of home, just being anywhere, like my external reality has started to change. We know how this all works. And I've just started feeling more stable, more secure, and more at home anywhere I go, even if I'm just, if I'm somewhere for 2 days as opposed to a week, as opposed to, a month. Which I find like it's those of us who understand like the ins and outs and in depth how all of this works, even when we understand it, it's like when we're in our own seasons of instability um or dysregulation or disconnection from self, it's like when we, at least for me, I don't want to project, when I start to re-engage with the work, or when I start to feel those inner shifts and my external reality matches, it's like relearning it all over again. It's like,
Yeah.
oh right, this is why we do the things that we do. Oh right, this is why we steward the work. Oh right, like it's working, like it works. You know what I mean?
Yes.
um how long is your morning routine?
Oh my gosh, girl, I try to keep it as simple as possible because don't get me wrong, I used to have like an hour to 2 hour long morning routine. And, you know, I'm someone who can get lost in the sauce of like, just being with the emotions that are there, or like moving through whatever is present, or
Mm,
you know, like journaling through things. And so, actually, what really helps me is to have that like 20, 30 minutes and then to take action. And whether
mm,
that's like on, cleaning up my space, or getting back to messages. But like for me, I found this balance that really works for me is to have like that internal time, and to like really come into contact of like what's present, what's happening. Have the hypnotic meditation, but then taking the action afterwards that I feel is really necessary to align me to whatever I'm feeling, or feeling is present that is kind of like weighing on me. And that really, really helps so much. And don't get me wrong, some days I'm like too exhausted, and we're women, we have our hormone cycles and things. But yeah, my morning routine is much more simple these days, I would say. And
mm.
sometimes it's like you said, halfway through the day, I'll go for a walk and listen to a hypnosis, or at night maybe I'll journal or like do a somatic practice. But um yeah, I really realized it doesn't have to be like this huge thing every single morning.
25-step process.
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah, like who? I will say though, like you're like, regardless of how long the morning routine is, the morning ritual is, regardless of how long it is, you're taking action, some sort of aligned action right after. So you're doing some sort of calibration. It sounds like an energetic calibration or reprogramming, and then you're taking action. I think that that is the key. Like it doesn't matter how long it is. It doesn't matter how long the morning routine is, the morning ritual. Like the intention is to calibrate yourself to whatever the desired state is, so that you can then, to any actions that come by way of that follow, that are subsequent, are in alignment with your goals. They're a frequency match. And I think
Mhm.
that like so often people, all of us, we wake up, and even when we're doing, sometimes even when listening to a hypnosis audio, I'll kind of just like, it's like then I'm just in the rest of the kind of routine of the normal day to day, as
Mhm.
opposed to, I'm like, if we just, regardless of how long it takes, whether it's 2 minutes or like 3 hours, if we regulate the system and then align ourselves with the desired way of being or desired goals, desired outcome, and then take action from that place, then it's all going to just flow. Then it's
Mhm.
all the external will reflect alignment. And I think that like, if more people realize that the morning routine, it's not about the length of time, it's just about those two pieces, like calibrating internally and then taking action from that place, like that's it.
Mhm. For sure. And sometimes it may take longer than other days. Like some days you might
Yes.
wake up and you're like, I'm feeling good. I'm already in the frequency. Like, let me amplify this with like a 5-10 minute meditation, and I'm ready. But then other mornings you might wake up and have had bad dreams, or the day before wasn't so good, or you didn't sleep very well, and then you need more support, more whatever it is that you're feeling in that moment. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's the real, reality of it. It's like every day is different, and our body and subconscious and nervous system is constantly shifting with our reality.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah, totally. So this podcast is intended to be for listeners who are just curious, peak performers, high achievers, but also people who are just curious about this work. And then also, of course, practitioners, fellow hypnotists, etc. So for people who are listening in who are like not super into yet the energetics of all of it, and they hear us, say words like, I use the word like calibrate often, or like frequency, and it's like, what does that even mean? I would love to hear about, of course, spinal energetics. I actually know nothing of this, so I'd love for you to share a little bit more about that. What is hypnoenergetics? How have you combined the two? And then when you say energetics, and when we say frequency, and when we utilize words like this, like, what do you mean by these words for someone who is just
Mm,
completely new?
I love this question. Yeah. So I love science and I love physics. And I think it's so interesting how many people are like, oh, yeah, I don't believe in energy. I don't believe in like, frequency, manifestation, that kind of stuff. But if anyone ever took a physics class or, dove deeper into what is energy, you would just find that everything is energy. Like we are literal vibrating atoms made of 99.999 like empty space, which is filled with energy. And so frequency is energetic vibrations. Frequency is sound. Frequency is a wave moving on the top of the water, but we are all vibrating at a certain frequency. And so, I think some people kind of get caught up in like, oh, high vibes only. But as humans, we really get to experience this whole kind of like spectrum of different frequencies. And there's been really interesting books written about how different emotions, different beliefs hold a certain frequency. And I believe like guilt and shame might be the lowest frequency there is in human consciousness. And then like love and oneness and authenticity are some of like the highest frequencies that you can be at. And so aside from like the whole chakras and all of that, like when it really comes down to it, we are energy and frequency. And the really cool, amazing thing that has been proven by science and physics is that we can change frequency just by thought alone. And how do we do that? Like, how does our brain translate into a frequency? Well, basically, our thoughts become energy. Our thoughts can also become chemistry because we can change our physical chemistry just by thought alone. And how do we do that? What's the placebo effect? That is frequency that has been translated from thought. If you believe a certain thing, then it will translate into the physical realm, and it could be a literal, hormone or chemistry change within your physical body. And so I got into energy healing about 3 years ago, and my life completely changed. I had a huge, huge awakening in Bali, which is just another whole story. But I had a lot of these psychic awarenesses come online that I had never really tapped into before, such as clairaudience, clairvoyance, all the different clairs out there. And yeah, I started to dive deep into this work. And there was a point in my journey that I found spinal energetics, and I had, really helped a lot of people with their nervous system through the spinal energetics, which I'll explain a little bit more in a minute. But I found that there was almost like this missing piece of we can change so much at the root of the nervous system through our energy fields. But then there was this mental aspect, because I would do a session for someone, they would feel amazing. We would help them process so much trauma through their spine and their nervous system. We'd be working on so many layers of their body, their mind, their aura. But then there they would sit up on the table and their mind would go straight into these old cycles, these old beliefs, these old patterns. And I realized that, we can't just always work on one layer of the physical mind, body, soul. Like, to really create this quantum identity shift and transformation for someone, I found that, okay, we have to go into the subconscious. We have to like find what this pattern is, this root that is keeping their nervous system stuck in this dysregulation as well, because it goes both ways, right? It's like, which one comes first, the chicken or the egg? It can be the nervous system that's dysregulating the mind, or it's the subconscious, the mind dysregulating the nervous system. And so that is kind of what led me to create hypnoenergetics, which is a blend of hypnotherapy parts work plus past life regression plus kinesiology and spinal energetics and everything in between. It's almost like it's everything that has helped me on my own journey to get to where I am and to become this much more grounded identity of myself. And and so it's really kind of just that like natural creation that evolved over the last few years from my own journey and seeing what my clients really needed. That's hypnoenergetics. And I can go deeper into spinal or whatever if you have any questions.
I have so many questions. I have so many questions. Okay, so spinal energetics, I'm assuming you mentioned something of working with the spine. Like is it body work? Is it hands-on? Because with hypnosis, our tool is our voice as a space holder. And so we're guiding someone to utilize their own imagination and their own mind. But with spinal energetics, is it hands-on? Is it body work?
So it's not necessarily body work. It is basically a blend of chiropractic technique with energy healing. And so we're working with the actual physical spine, and sometimes it can be in person and there can be physical touch, but I do 95% of my work online. Just like hypnosis, I can work with anybody around the world because energy is everywhere at all times, and where your intention goes, the energy flows. And basically, you can do it in person, but oftentimes I do it online. And yeah, so we're working with the spine, we're working with the nervous system. And basically, the premise is that our main nervous system is housed within our spine. And it's also within our cervical spine and our sacrum. And there's these things called meninges that are basically these very hypersensitive nerve endings that are within our spinal cord, specifically in the neck and the pelvis. And we're working those areas to basically unwind any patterns of tension, of trauma, of emotions. Because most of our physical symptoms that we have are emotional, they're energetic, unless something, like a physical accident happens. If out of the blue, you've been working really hard and you're getting like this lower back pain or this shoulder tension, it's stress, right? And so there's many things that our nervous system creates from our reality, just like our subconscious. So we have these certain beliefs in our subconscious, but then we also have these certain patterns within our nervous system that has been created to keep us safe, to protect us, to hold it all together. It's kind of how I like to imagine it. It's like that tension gets created because it's trying to create the safety. It's trying to hold on to what feels good. And through the spinal energetics, we're working with specific points along the spine to help the nervous system to unwind and unravel those patterns that actually aren't beneficial. And I've also learned another technique that helps me to work with the parts of the spine that are actually already very evolved. And so as I work with the tension points in spinal energetics, I also work with these things called gateways that are kind of like teaching the rest of the spine and the nervous system how to regulate itself. So we're working on the spine, but then we're also working on the chakras. We're working on all the auric layers. Yeah. And it's funny, I actually do way less of the spinal energetics now, because once we really create the shifts within the subconscious, the nervous system has less to unwind.
Mm-hmm.
You're, understanding what I'm saying, because it's like we're already finding with that pattern of holding, that pattern of fear, that pattern of
Yes.
that blockage, whatever it is in the subconscious. And then the nervous system is already responding to that shift within the subconscious. And then it's like a cascade effect. So it's really, really cool.
And so when you aren't in person with someone and you aren't applying, you aren't, it isn't hands-on, are you guiding their attention to specific points in their own spine? Or is it more of kind of like, I'm not so familiar with Reiki, but is it more your intention and your mental guidance is kind of doing all of the work, for lack of a better way of saying it?
Yes to all of the above. So when I'm doing the spinal sessions, I am very much a talker during the sessions. I'll have a lot of downloads that are coming through, and I feel a lot within my own body of what is happening in their body. So I'm constantly sharing like where they can breathe into their body, where they can place their attention on their spine, because like I said before, their intention matters as well. And it's not my session, I'm allowing their body to inform me where I should be focusing the energy and, where I should be working. And then also sometimes my intuition steps in and I can feel like I'll get a flash of an image of what happened to them that may have caused this pattern. And sometimes I'll share it during the session. Sometimes I'll share it afterwards, or sometimes it doesn't really mean it's not relevant. But yeah, it's like a dance between me intuitively listening to their body and allowing their body to just guide me the entire way. So
beautiful. And then hypnoenergetics. So this is spinal energetics we're talking. Hypnoenergetics is your unique process, your unique method.
Yes. Yeah. And so it looks quite different. I mean, it's not a spinal energetic session. It's very much its own blend of things. I bring in kinesiology to really see, okay, what beliefs are we dealing with here? What emotions are stuck within your body first? Because sometimes people will come into a session and they're like, okay, this is what I'm dealing with. Like, this is what I'm feeling is happening. And then we start to peel back the layers, and it actually might be something that's related, but quite different, and really matters to understanding where we're going to go on our journey. And so that's where the kinesiology comes in. And then with the energetics part of it, it's really kind of a blend of, spinal, Reiki, light language, a lot of woo-woo things out there that many people might not know what it is. So yeah, I like look back about a year ago where I was just doing spinal energetics and to what I'm doing now, and it's like, whoa, it's very, very different, but with, a similar goal.
We were talking before we started recording about how hypnosis is the perfect adjunct, how you can integrate it into literally any modality, whether you're a talk therapist or a dentist or a yoga teacher or a Reiki practitioner or a somatic, like literally anything, coaching, aesthetics. As an esthetician, hypnosis can be incorporated, because it's really just about understanding how the subconscious mind is programmed. Because once we understand how it is programmed, we can understand how to alter the code or alter the programming, however we want to look at it. And so I think it's really beautiful that it sounds like you found the modalities that you really resonated with. You had this spiritual awakening, you had all of your psychic gifts come online. And then how did you discover hypnosis, and how did you decide to incorporate, you said parts integration, and what was the other hypnotic
Yeah,
technique that you incorporate?
the past life.
Past
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. And I didn't mention this other one, but I call it like psychic surgery, which is
Ooh.
kind of like a somatic process with the subconscious. So I kind of have like those, and then it can also be, like womb past regression type things as well. So every session is completely different and very specific to what the client is needing, and also what intuitively I'm feeling is coming through. I started my journey with hypnosis about almost a year ago now. It feels like way longer, because I've been receiving hypnosis for about 2 years now. And my somatic therapist, she does parts work, but it's very similar to hypnotic parts work. And it changed my life. I felt that spinal energetics changed my nervous system, but then actually going into my subconscious, and I was diagnosed with OCD back in 2022. And before I really discovered this subconscious work, I always kind of felt like, oh, I'm just going to have like, this inner war between the parts of me that are good and successful and lovable, and then the parts that I feel like are bad, that aren't as acceptable. And it wasn't until I started doing the parts work that I realized, oh my gosh, every part of me is here to love me and here to protect me and here to support me. And that changed my life. And I realized that it was something that I really wanted to incorporate into my sessions, because it was one client in particular who I could feel that she had a mental block around loving a part of herself. And I was like, you know what? Do you mind if we just play around and bring in some parts work to this? And this was before I became a hypnotherapist. And she was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And the breakthrough that we had on that session of doing the parts work plus the spinal energetics, I was like, oh my God, I think we just cracked the code. I think we just found something that is insane here. And because I knew it worked for myself, but it's like different when you see it work for a client who's like felt really like they've had blockages, and they're a bit more of like that client where like, okay, I got to step my game up. Like they're a bit of like they're stretching me. That's kind of what got me into it. I was like, okay, well, I don't want to necessarily go back and become a therapist, but what is a modality that will allow me to do this parts work and go deeper into that? And then I started to had a psychic reading actually by my astrologer at the beginning of the year, and he's like, you're going to get into hypnosis. And I was like, hypnosis, what? Like, okay, that's so random. Like, I've never been into that. But then I was deep in the parts work, and I realized, oh, like this is one and the same. And so then I studied with Marissa Peer and did that course. Yeah, and just loved it. And I realized like, wow, okay, this is big. And it feels like we are on this precipice right now with hypnotherapy of like, there's about to be a lot of people that are realizing and waking up to the power of our subconscious mind. If not, it's already happening. And it's really just this like boom of people really recognizing that we can really truly shift at our core for like a sustainable, new reality. not just like a
Yes.
quick fix, not like going to, sessions for the rest of our life, but like this sustainable, deep change can happen in 1, 3, 5 sessions.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's kind of how I found hypnosis.
Parts work is so powerful. I didn't know that Marissa Peer. I always get Marissa Peer and Melissa Tears mixed up because they're both blonde hypnotists in the industry. I didn't know that she taught parts integration. I thought it was mostly suggestion work.
Yeah, the funny thing is I had no idea either. And I, joined the course. And when we got to like the actual like how to do a session and set it up, it was working with parts and going into inner child work, and you work with like 3 different parts. And then at the end you do the suggestion. And I was like, oh wow, like this is already what I'm doing. Like, thank goodness, this is super aligned.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think incorporating parts work can be done in conscious waking state. We all experience, and I think one of the reasons I love parts work so much is because sometimes communicating hypnosis to someone who's never explored it, or someone who has tons of, they're just carrying stories and stigma around the word hypnosis, it's like a little bit tricky to get them to loosen that up a little bit. But people already communicate in this metaphorical way about their, about themselves, and they'll say like, there's a part of me that really wants this, but then there's another part of me that really wants that. It's just like a natural way of communicating. And so I feel like parts work is the perfect entry point into the subconscious reprogramming work, because we know that we don't have to enter a hypnotic trance state in order to reprogram the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind can be reprogrammed many different ways. Just as you said, sometimes the nervous system is the gateway into that. We can repattern the nervous system and that changes the subconscious. Sometimes the subconscious we can change on a subconscious level, and it'll help, regulate the nervous system as we integrate fear response. Both parts integration work, it's so cool because the mind doesn't know the difference between real and imagined, and because when we're in a hypnotic trance state, the brain is so malleable. We enter that heightened state of neuroplasticity when we engage in parts integration work or parts work, and also we're in a hypnotic trance state. It just, exactly as you said, it's that sustainable transformation. I like that you said 1, 3, 7 sessions, like maybe up to, but literally one session can just be enough because of how, again, accessible parts are already. And I think it's important to note too that like depending on the client, parts integration work should be done in a trauma informed manner. And also it's just, again, it's just that easy entry point. People are already communicating and articulating in that way.
100%. Yeah. And it's just like, I love doing parts work and seeing and hearing clients find memories and parts of themselves that they had no idea still existed there, with these stories and these beliefs. And it's like, I shared recently the story of Miley Cyrus and how she had this fear of, or the stage fright that she had basically lived with her whole life. And it wasn't until she did this subconscious work, and it was with something different. It was with EMDR, but still subconscious work. And it wasn't until then that she recognized that there was an infant part of herself that had this belief that, she had to like look for love, or that, it was scarce. And so it's so powerful to really start there, I feel like, with parts work, because what you don't know, you can't really work through or overcome. And I think that's why it's such a powerful entry point with hypnosis, because then once you like understand, okay, like this one fear, this one blockage, it's not from this present moment. It's, it's inherited, it's ancestral, or it's from a past life, or it's from my childhood. Okay, now we understand what we're actually working with here, because otherwise we're just like throwing darts in the dark and trying to figure out what's actually causing you this fear, this blockage. Yeah. And then going into the reprogramming and really seeing from there, like, okay, now that we understand like how, what's been happening here, it's like it clears the pathway, if that makes sense.
It makes complete sense. Okay, now we have to segue, now that you brought it up, into past life, because this is something that in our certification, we don't teach. A Deep Space is a spiritually dogma-free organization, not just the certifications, but all of the classes. And because we want to, I think I want to say this, like, science is a universal language. And because of, again, the stigma around hypnosis already, and there's almost this, there's fear around it. There's fear around it, and so because we want to reach as many people as we possibly can, we're communicating about these modalities through the lens of science. But we also know that at some point in time when you're doing this work, you're going to experience something that is like something, it's either a spiritual experience, we can call it a spiritual experience, a deeper connection to God, a connection to higher self, whatever languaging we want to use around it. With that said, I'm so excited to have you into the certification as a guest expert, because again, we don't teach about past lives. So I would love to hear about your own belief systems. Like, what do you believe? And then how does hypnosis and past life regression, how does it work?
For sure. Yeah, I guess kind of like a backstory with why I so deeply believe in past life regression is because of my own personal experience. When I was very young, I always like did not understand why I had blonde hair. Like from the moment I can remember, I was always like, Mom, like, why don't I have black hair? Why is my skin this color? Like, this isn't what it should be. And she would just be perplexed as all get out. She'd be like, what are you trying to, like, honey, calm down. Like, and I was obsessed with Native American dolls, Egyptian dolls, at such a young age. And I didn't know why. Like, I didn't care to play with the blonde Barbies. I wanted like the ethnic dolls. And it wasn't until 2021 when I had my first past life regression that it all made sense. And also I like always dressed up as Native American, had my dad take me to a bunch of Indian reserves growing up, like was obsessed. And so this first past life regression, when I first went into the hypnosis and I saw that past life, I immediately understood it all. And I was a Native American in one of my most recent past lives. And long story short, I was the medicine man's daughter, and I became like the medicine woman after he passed away. And it's truth when the hypnotist is asking you questions and there is no hesitation. It just comes through like you couldn't even imagine it. It's not coming from your conscious mind. It's just flowing through you. And she asked me some random questions like, what was one of your biggest accomplishments in that life? And I was like, oh, having 3 sons, and then like another thing she asked me was like, okay, why did your soul decide to come back in this lifetime? And I immediately was like, oh, to be a medicine woman, but to learn it through life experiences. And that past life regression gave me so much understanding of why I was the way I was when I was a child, and also like my clarity on my purpose in this lifetime, because I had just become an entrepreneur at that point. I was, a little afraid to step out of the 9 to 5 and everything. And so I am a full believer in reincarnation, even though I grew up Catholic. I absolutely believe that our soul lives on for many lifetimes. And there's many hypnotherapists, psychologists, people out there who they were very, very driven by science, did not believe in anything spiritual. And they started doing these past life regressions just naturally for their clients, and started to see that there were undeniable truths and facts, like people being able to remember, the name of the city that they were born in, and their name, and their sex, their whole family, everything. And then they're able to go and look back, and that was a real person in a real place, like from 300 years ago. And then there's these stories I remember learning before I even got into past life regression, of children, being born to a family, and them saying from a young age, like, you're not my mom, you're not my dad. And it's like heartbreaking for that family. But there's specific situations, or people that they were able to actually get the truth out of the child, of who they were in their past life, and able to look up and see, oh my gosh, that family is still alive, and then allow their child to reunite with their past lives, their past reality, soul family that was still alive. And so there's a lot of really crazy, undeniable stories out there, that I encourage you or whoever's listening to go and research, because, yeah, it is quite hard to wrap your mind around that we have these past lives and stories that are within our subconscious, because it's like you can sit here and consciously try to think of it, and you'd be like, I can't remember anything. But there's people that like know another language when they tap into hypnosis, that they have never learned in this lifetime, that they spoke in another lifetime. And so it's these little things that just got me so intrigued. And I, started reading about it, teaching myself how to do this with my clients. And yeah, it's like sometimes when there's really like stubborn blockages that I see a client working with, or struggling with, we'll go into a past life, and they'll have real emotions surface, real memories come up that they could have never guessed were there. And some people might say, oh, it's just their imagination. They're like, their subconscious is giving them kind of like a story that has symbolism and everything. And maybe that's true. Maybe not every past life is fully, a full actual past life, because also that's a whole other thing we can get into, where is time even real? Like, are there parallel?
That's where my mind goes. That's where my mind goes. I'm like,
Yeah.
if the only moment that's real is the present moment, and where all timelines are, there's no such thing as linear time, then how can a past life be a thing? And also, I let my mind, I don't smoke weed, but if I did, I would assume that the thoughts that I have about time are like high thoughts. Like, and past lives. I mean, I could sit here and just contemplate. You and I could probably have a really high conversation.
Oh, 100%. It's like, I don't need any of that kind of stuff when we have all the tools that we have, like you realize like, whoa, I can have a whole like medicine journey being completely sober.
If you love what you're learning here on the Reprogrammed podcast, imagine taking it even deeper. At A Deep Space, we've created the Clinical Integrative Hypnosis Certification, which is a training that blends neuroscience, trauma-informed care, and advanced hypnotic techniques to help you guide lasting transformation. And some of the very guests that you'll hear on this podcast are world-class teachers inside the certification, bringing their expertise in psychology, neuroscience, and hypnosis directly into our training. If you're ready to reprogram lives, starting with your own, learn more on Instagram at adeepspace.co or at our website, www.adeepspace.co.
Yeah, I love these kinds of topics, because it's like it's not like proven by science, but there's like an overwhelming amount of stories that could prove that this is real. And but the biggest thing is that it is very therapeutic. It actually does shift people's lives, their identities. There's this guy named Brian J. Weiss, or I forget his middle initial, but he's written a lot of books on past life regression. And he's one of those guys that just like naturally fell into this after doing hypnosis for his clients. And one of my favorite books of his is where he had two separate clients who didn't know each other at all and who were both struggling with similar life issues, not being able to attract the right partner, and not really struggling in their money or like feeling at home anywhere. And he started doing past life regressions with them, and he was starting to recognize, like, he didn't start to put it together until maybe doing 5 sessions with both of them separately, that they had overlapping stories where they had the exact same stories with the same names, but they had lived, different versions of themselves in those past lives. And they had been partners, been husband and wife in that lifetime. And he was really struggling with this like internal battle of, do I introduce them? Like, what do I do here? Like undeniable stories that are overlapping. And yeah, he introduced them, and then they fell in love and got married and are soulmates. So
what book is this?
Oh my gosh.
Do you remember the name?
Yes, I want to say his first one that I read was Many Lives, Many Masters. And then I can't remember it. Just look him up and you can definitely find it.
So as you're coming into the certification and teaching the course, and what is the title of the course that you're teaching with an R? I should have it up here. Past Life Regression Hypnosis, Exploring the Soul's Deeper Story. What can the students expect?
Yes. So that's a great question. I mean, from
you're like, we are gonna just figure it out as we go. Trust me, that's totally how. Wait, what's your human design? I can't believe I didn't even ask you. What's your human design?
I'm a Manny Gen.
Okay, what's your profile? Do you know? Are you into it?
Oh my gosh, that's one area that I really need to dive deeper into. All I know is that I'm like sacral motivated or oriented or something like that.
Okay, I'm like fascinated by human design. Will you send me your chart? I like have to pull it now. Okay.
I love it. With the past life masterclass, we'll dive deep into it, and usually I allow like people to really guide me by their questions as well.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. So a little bit of theory and a little bit of actual techniques that they can take and start to explore with their clients and potential future clients. And I really love you and I had discussed, even if one doesn't believe in reincarnation, that we can see it as a metaphor, and we know the power of metaphor in subconscious reprogramming. And so for those who are like, past life regression, I don't know if I believe it, even after, all of that, as you said, anecdotal evidence, that they can still come and utilize this as a tool. And I think that it's just important to remember that the subconscious mind communicates and is influenced using metaphor. So even with astrology and human design, I'm all about human design, but even, astrology, anything can be used as a metaphor and can facilitate. I think as long as we're meeting our clients in their belief systems, why not have the tool in our toolkit of past life regression? If someone, if someone comes to you looking for the work, that you can facilitate it.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's definitely been times where I can sense that it might not be an actual past life, but it is something that their subconscious is speaking to them through the symbolism, through the metaphors of it. And I know it's just as powerful as, if it is like an actual soul reincarnation. So yeah, definitely. I'm super excited to share it with them.
I'm so excited to have you in the training. Our community is incredible. You're going to love everyone. I am like wanting to be a part of your community. You have a retreat that you're facilitating. It's like
Yeah.
literally during my birthday. And if I didn't have an obligation in San Diego on the 18th, I would be there. But is this something that you do regularly, these retreats?
Yeah, so this is my first one that I'm doing on my
Yay.
own. I also have a few facilitators coming with me, but this is my first one that I'm, planning and leading and everything. So I'm feeling super excited. I've definitely co-facilitated before. Um, but yeah, it feels like definitely something that I'll be doing like once to maybe twice a year. Um, it takes a lot of time to plan everything and learning, but I know the payoff is going to be incredible. So, and yeah, there will be a large aspect of hypnosis on the retreat, but then also breath work, energetics, and also just like restoration
Mm,
and nourishing food in Tuscany, Italy, of all
mm,
places, like the most gorgeous place. So
mm. Who is it for the retreat?
So it's for women entrepreneurs, but also women in general. I have one woman who's a nurse who's coming. So, it's for women who are ready to really just slow down
Mm,
and reconnect to themselves, connect to other women, and to really kind of tap into that feminine energy of being, of flowing, and also enjoyment. Like I feel like there's so many retreats out there that are about like we gotta heal this session and then do the next session, and then it's like this whole masculine type of
totally.
retreat. And to me, I'm so anti that kind of like scheduling. I'm totally a type B person, and so I've built in every single day, like integration time, like time to chill by the pool. Like we're gonna have a day to just explore Florence, do some
Mm,
shopping and olive oil tasting and a
mm,
hot spring. So, it's just like I think that it's so important for people, for women especially, to take that time to also get out of the like structure of life of like,
mm.
do. So
I want to go. I want to go so badly. I'm going on the next one. I'm going to make sure to come on the next one. Oh my gosh.
yes.
This is something I've facilitated retreats in the past. And one of the reasons as to why I love incorporating hypnosis, any subconscious reprogramming, is because typically on a retreat, yes, this deep healing, wound healing work, and it can feel so confronting. And then you're like thrown back into your day-to-day routine, and it's like, whoa,
Yes.
more dysregulation, there's no integration,
Yes.
and then the transformation typically isn't sustainable. So I think it's really
Mhm.
powerful that you're incorporating the subconscious reprogramming work, the energetic work, so much integration space, and then just
Mm.
like let's like enjoy life and be in Italy and like olive oil tasting. Are you kidding me? Like
I'm
what?
so
I want
excited.
to. I'm so envious. I'm so envious. Okay, the last thing that I want to talk about, just because like I want the tea, is I just found out that your boyfriend or partner, husband, I apologize, I don't know, fiance, is
Yeah.
also a hypnotist.
Yes.
So like, wait, what? Two hypnotists together is a reality TV show?
I know. Yeah, literally when he showed me the other day that you messaged him, I was like, "Wait, this is so funny. I don't think she knows that we're together." Like, and I was like,
I,
I can't wait to either tell her on the podcast or for her to just like naturally find out. So that was so good. And yeah, so we met like before we were into hypnosis and before we were,
wow.
really into hypnotherapy. And we met almost 3 years ago now. It's crazy. He was in Bali and I was in LA, and I was doing holistic nutrition coaching for women, and he was in the marketing agency space for real estate agents. And yeah, he invited me to come to Bali. We had some mutual friends and we did a podcast together and we just hit it off. talked for like 3 hours, and I was like, oh my gosh, this guy is really special. And yeah, my family thought I was actually losing it, moving to Bali for a man I'd never met. But it works out. And yeah, we both had a deep spiritual awakening together. And yeah, he transitioned to coaching other entrepreneurs in the marketing agency space at first. And then I transitioned to the energetics, spinal energetics, all of that. And then within like the last year and a half, we started incorporating hypnosis into our work. And I started with hypnosis first, but no, actually he'd been doing like hypnosis type work for way longer than me. So yeah,
I mean, as I think as women, like we typically are, we're the guides. We lead them to exactly where it is they're meant to be, you know? And so that doesn't surprise me. We'll give you the accolades. You were the first.
Thank you.
I love
It
it.
was so funny. I started taking the Marissa Peer course, and then like 2 months later, he started taking his own course, and I was like, wait, what are you doing? Should we just like practice together now? Like, this is epic. This is so fun. So yeah, and we make each other hypnotic meditations. It's cute. It's fun.
It is so cute. It is so cute. Like, I love this. I feel like it's going to be new life goals unlocked for like so many of our students. It's like, can we have just, and I honestly, I have a vision of a world in which everyone is certified in hypnosis, because it's like mothers and just parents in general, business owners, if you understand how to facilitate subconscious change, it's not just about the individual's experience here. It's about how do we facilitate deep connection and understanding of one another. And so I have this world that like we're all just going to be hypnotists walking around, like, you know. And but until then, like, new goal unlocked, just hypnotist dating hypnotist. How cute is that?
Then just have hypnosis babies, you know, hypnobirths,
Little hypno
like all
babies.
of that.
Truly. Okay, so I really want to have you both on the podcast. We'll see how he feels about it, but I think it would be so fun to talk to you both about relationship, about navigating. Just, I think that there's something to be said for people who are involved in this work, and in the ways in which we in the ways in which we communicate with other people. Our communication is at least in my experience, it's a little bit more, I want to say, we're empathetic, we're open-minded, we have lots of cognitive flexibility. Our emotional intelligence is quite high as people who work with the psyche, you know. I don't want to, you know, paint that onto every single human being, but I think that there are many of us in the space who are this. So I can only imagine that in a relationship dynamic, you know, as you're navigating attachment wounding and shadow and inner child work together, that it's probably quite empowering.
100%. And I mean, yeah, the amount of work that we have done to get to where we are today. Yeah, I mean, every relationship, if it's done right, is supposed to help you grow and evolve. And having the tool of hypnosis and like the knowledge of like our subconscious patterns and all of that, like it's like doing it on easy mode instead of hard mode, you know. And not like it's always easy. There's of course still just normal relationship things, but not to sound like conceited, but we do have a lot of people ask us like, you know, relationship questions. And yeah, it's one of those things that I love talking about, because it is something that so many people really struggle with. And part of it is who you're with, and the other part of it is your own subconscious and nervous system patterning. So if you can kind of understand at least like your side of things, it makes it way like more, not simple, but it just makes things a lot easier. And yeah, we would love to do a podcast together with you. We actually have never done that. We've had people ask us, but we haven't done it yet. So we'd be honored.
Oh my gosh, I'm honored to be the first. That's the ego talking. I'm like,
uh,
I get
yes.
first access. Yeah, this is so great. I think I really I value that you highlighted, like, when we're doing our own integration work, then we're able to show up in a relationship in a way that feels more, you said maybe not simple, but I think I understand what you're saying there. And
Yeah.
I also think there's something to be said for, though, being with someone who understands co-regulation and who understands, okay, I'm feeling triggered right now. How can I put my own shit like aside for a moment and just show up for my partner's inner child? Because that's all this is right now. Like, really,
Mhm.
it's always the triggers, like the wounding, it's all just attachment wounding. It's all inner child, most of it. We'll say 90% of it, right? Like
Mhm.
99%. And so to be with someone who understands how this all works, I think is probably, and of course we're human beings, but and I'm totally like creating such a story in my head about your relationship. And I'm like, being with another hypnotist, like, must be just pure co-regulation. And you're like, okay. Doesn't mean that he necessarily knows attachment wounding, but um I think this idea that it's easy mode, I think, is really cool, going from hard mode to easy mode, because we just have a
Yeah.
greater understanding of, this person isn't out to get me. A trigger is just something that it's just an
Mm.
old pattern. It's just an old wound. It has nothing to do with me. How can I help my partner, who I love, who are building something together, come back to a state of regulation, of security, of safety, of enoughness, and then we can resolve together from that point, instead of it
Mhm.
turning into this whole sticky mess, which is typically what happens.
Mhm. 100%. And I think even like putting the hypnosis aside and just being with a partner who is committed to being on the same team as you and working through things with you instead of against you is everything. Having a partner who allows you to grow and evolve. I mean, he's seen 1,000 versions of me in the last few years.
Mm,
And I think that is such an important factor of who we choose to be with, because I've been with people, where I'm constantly evolving, but they're not evolving with me. And that can be really hard as well. And so yeah, definitely dating someone who is emotionally intelligent and also a hypnotherapist like is a huge score. But also, whether if it's just someone who's just ready to commit to also evolving with you and
yes,
and really growing and learning with you, then that's amazing too.
amazing. I've gotten the funniest messages on Hinge of like just men being like, a hypnotist. Like,
Yeah.
I actually posted on Instagram because some of the messages are like insane, but I think it's really beautiful that you two already had developed this connection, were already together, and then found hypnosis later. And I think that the evolution of that is just fascinating. Like, where is the reality TV show? Because it is like such a fun premise.
Oh gosh, don't get me started on our how many past lives him and I have lived together. That's a whole
Have you
other.
done a regression sessions together, or do you have just
We
memories?
we haven't, but when we had our huge awakening in Bali together, there was a day when I closed my eyes and my third eye opened, and I saw like I don't even know, like hundreds of the different lifetimes that we have lived together and like the different versions we had been in each other's lives. And it just made so much sense too, like as to why there were certain dynamics that first year
Mm,
of like him, sometimes feeling like I wasn't choosing him because in a past life I had left him for another person. And
mm,
so there was almost like, that's why it's so powerful to do this work with a partner, because sometimes there's like these random like triggers that could be from a past relationship, but also that sometimes just feel like, why is this here? I've never given you reason to feel this way. Nobody else has ever given you, reason to feel that way. And I had things towards him too that had come from past lives too. And when we were able to see that and like recognize it for what it was like, it's like you just shine a light on something and then it's not as scary, right? It's not as like big. And yeah, that's why I love past life regression. It's like those mysteries in life where like you have a random fear or trigger and you're like, I have no idea where that came from. And it's so enlightening to just like feel, okay, now we can move past this.
So fascinating. I'm gonna have to book a session with you at some point and explore it. I've done one past life session and I didn't super resonate with it, but I don't think that it didn't feel necessarily like a past life. It felt like I was having false memories, and they weren't. So it was a little like jarring too, the experience. It was so I think it would be interesting to explore it again with someone that is an expert like you and someone that feels safe, especially since you have these intuitive gifts. I think it could be an interesting experience. So we'll have to set that up, and then I'll share about it on the podcast.
Would love it. That'd be amazing.
Good. Well, I'm so grateful for this. I can't wait for more podcast episodes to have you in the training and to just continue to cultivate a relationship with you.
Oh, thank you so much. Same here, Lindsay. It's been such a gift to get to know you and be in your energy. And I feel like now we need to sit down and have another call so I can get to know more of you. Thank you so much for having me. And I look forward to all the amazing things that will unfold.
Yay. We'll hang out soon. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording, and then we will say bye to one another without having to just like shut it all down. Is there, you know what? No, I want to do this. What are your top like 3 or so, your top resources for professionals and your top resources for just anyone who's interested in the work? And then where can people find you?
Well, if they're looking for hypnotic meditations, you and I feel like have incredible hypnotic meditations for people to try out. I think that's like the best way to experience what hypnosis feels like. I mean, we're always going into hypnosis every single day, but to experience it for yourself would be a hypnotic meditation.
Sorry to interrupt you. Do you have an app? Do people download from your website?
Yeah, so I have them on my Stan store on my Instagram bio, and they can find me at Maggie Moon with 3 O's if they are interested in doing any hypnotic meditations. And then, I would say the most powerful book that I have read, it's almost like a hypnotist Bible, I feel like, is The Power of Your Subconscious by Joseph Murphy. That one is, I love that book. It's like, if you ever for 1 second ever doubt the power of our subconscious, that is my go-to. And it has really cool stories and just so many different kind of like avenues that you can go down, whether it's like finances or relationships or health. And then if people are interested in the past life regression stuff, then Brian Weiss is amazing. All of his books are so interesting. Like for me, I like to read books that have like a bit of, like the real life science application, but then also like a story aspect to it as well. And his books are wonderful. So that would be my recommendation.
Good. Amazing. Thank you so much.
Me too. Thank you.
Thank you.